Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of One Man Stream. Today's episode is like some of the others we've had in the past. It's actually a request, as my opening shot would kind of lend you to believe that it's about boxing. Well, actually, it's not about boxing. Actually, today it is a request that we got from Macon Munoz, and he said, could you make some graphics for tennis? Thanks. And I responded back to him, and I told him, yes, that I thought I could do that, but it'd be a little while before I got around to it. Well, I've gotten around to it. So today's episode is going to be how to create a tennis graphic in GT Title Designer. And this is what the graphic is going to look like. And as usual, I'll go over it step by step and show you how we put this together in GT Title Designer. Just to highlight some of the main aspects of this. So I'm going to go up here under where it says player 1, and I'm going to type in start match, and you can see it starts back over and it starts to count up. So Connor serves an ace, serves another ace. Arthur Ashe comes back, scores a point. Connor scores 1, and we're going to put a 1 in here. Go ahead and click right here, player service, so you can see where the tennis ball comes on next to Arthur Ashe. Wins the first point, wins the second point, wins the third point. Connors comes back. So now it's tied up 1 set apiece. So we're going to clear that. We're going to set the points back to 0. And we're ready to go with the third game in the first set. And that's how you score it. It's very simple. So as you can see right here, this is what the graphic looks like in GT Title Designer. And we'll start over here at the far left. You can see these 2 tennis balls here, and this will be displayed next to whichever player is serving. We have player 1 and player 2, and then we have this actually set up for 5 sets. So it's set 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The current game points are right here, and then set over here to the far right is if the game is tied and it goes to deuce and then advantage to one player or the other, this AD will pop on next to the player that currently has the advantage. At the top here is the title bar, and this is where you'll put the name of the event that you're doing. There's always a place on my graphics for a sponsor logo, and right here in the middle is a spot for the sponsor logo. Over here to the bottom left is the time of day, and that's just the clock, and it's just going to show the current time of day. And then over here is a match clock, and it will show when the match starts. It'll start at all zeros, and it'll show the duration of the match. If you look all the way over here to the right, you'll see all the different components of this graphic. We start down here at the bottom where it says main rectangle. The main rectangle is this right here, and that's where we'll start. The way that I made this rectangle is I went up to the top where it says rectangle, and I clicked on that. Then I just stretched out a rectangle the size I wanted, and you'll notice that the edges are round over, so we need to go up to format, and we need to do a radius, and the radius that I chose was 34. 34 on the X, and 34 on the Y. And now you can see that the edges are rounded over on all 4 corners. Now what I also did was I did a gradient, and I've covered this in a previous tutorial called Working with Gradients. And if you haven't seen that tutorial, I suggest you stop in and watch that. It gives a little bit more in-depth explanation of what I'm going to cover very quickly here. So you need to go to Home, and you click on the rectangle. You need to go to Home, and then click on Fill, and you'll come down here to Gradient. What I did is I click this add stop, and the add stop is the transitions between the colors, and I normally have 7. So I'm going to have to add 5, so I'm going to click on this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to space them out. And for this particular gradient, I'm going to use gray. So on the edges, we're going to use the darkest color of gray we have. So we're going to put, oops, that's supposed to be on the end point. So we're going to use this gray here, and we're going to make this one gray here. And then on this one, we're going to use the next lighter color of gray, which is here. On this next set of endpoints, we're going to use a even lighter color of gray. And then on this last one here in the middle, we're going to use this very light shade of gray. And then we're going to click apply. And you'll see how the gradient comes, and it gives it a 3D look. It actually looks like this background is bent. I don't like where the white line is. The white line needs to be more toward the middle, so I'm going to change the spacing of this a little bit, bring the white line more toward the middle, and then click apply. And I like that a little bit better. So that's how we did that portion of the graphic. Now there's different things that you can do, different effects that you can do to your gradient. Now, one of the things that you can do with this gradient is you can change the angle. And you can see as I'm moving this slider and changing the angle, you can see how we've got different looks in this graphic. That's how we made that initial rectangle. The next thing that I did is the text that you can see right here at the top. I created that. So I went up here to the ABC to create a text box, and I pulled it over, kind of centered it. And then I do this on every text box that I create. I click on these two buttons. I center it in the middle left and right, and in the middle up and down. And then I click on this button here that says shrink. And no matter how long the text is that we put inside the box, the text will remain inside the box. Next thing I did is I went up here to font, and I've kind of fallen in love with this one right here. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this is the one that I like. Click on that. Click on extra bold. Change the fill color to white. And then I double clicked on it, and I just typed in National Tennis Championships. And what I also did is I also put an outline on it just so that it sticks out a little bit. I made the thickness of it 1, and I made the color black, and you can see how it kind of highlights that and makes it stick out. For the background for player name 1 and the background for player name 2, I did those the exact same way. I clicked on rectangle, came over here, and I made me a little rectangle like this. And then I went to format. I did the radius of 10 on X and Y, and you can see where the corners, all 4 corners are rounded over. And then also did the gradient again, but I'm not going to show you that again. I did the exact same thing. I just clicked on this. I went to home, so I clicked on color, clicked on gradient. I clicked on the add stop 5 times to give me 7 stops again. And I spread them out like I had done previously. And this time, instead of using shades of blue, I used shades of red. And that's how I got the gradient right here. So for player 2, all I did was right click and copy and right click and paste. And then I click on the title bar, and then I use the arrow keys on my keyboard. And that allows me to fine tune and position that new rectangle that I made. So let's go back up here under gradient, and I'm just going to click on blue just to change the color. And I did the gradient the exact same way that I did the previous ones. I went to color, clicked on gradient. I added 5 stops to give me a total of 7, and then I used different shades of blue for player 2. Now to bring in the player 1 name and player 2 name, I go up here to the ABC or text block, click on that, bring it in like so, center it in the middle, left to right, in the middle up and down, click on shrink, change it to my favorite font, change the fill color to white, and then I double clicked on it and I typed in player one name. Now, all of these I give very specific names to, and as you look in the list here, you can see where I have player one rectangle, that is this right here, player two rectangle, that's this one right here, player one name right here, player two name right here. Then the next piece that we're going to do is we're going to do the service, which is these tennis balls next to the player's name. So to do the name for player two, all I did was I right-clicked and copied, and I right-clicked and paste. Use the arrow keys, bring that down. Change player one to player two, and then now we're going to put in the service over here to the left. So on this, we go up here and we click on this, which comes up image. And then I've got a yellow tennis ball right here. I'm going to click open. And I'm just going to keep shrinking it down until it's something we can use. And then that looks good. So I would name this one, at this point, I would name this Service Player 1. And as you probably guessed, I'm going to right-click and copy and right-click and paste. Hit the title bar, use the arrow key, and bring that down. And I would title this Service Player 2. And let's look over here. Service Player 1 would be this one, and Service Player 2 would be this one. So the next thing that I did is I started creating the background for all the sets. Now the way that I did that is I went up here and clicked on the Player 1 rectangle, and I clicked on Format, and I saw that it was 97, I believe, pixels, 97 pixels high. So what I did on these boxes here, let's click on one. You'll see where I made it 97 by 97. I made it square, and then I also did the radius the same. I did a radius of 10 for each one of these. And then I also did a gradient. So we'll go to gradient, and you'll see the gradient I did a little bit different this time. I only have 5 total stops, so I only had to click the add stop button 3 times. And these two and these two are the same, but this one here is just a little bit different shade of black. It's just a tad bit darker. And if we go back to here, you can see right here in the middle on all of these pieces is a little bit of lightness that comes through. So what I did is, well, let's go ahead and do this. I'll show you how we did it. I clicked on the rectangle box, clicked on rectangle, and like I said, I went to format, and it's 55. So in this case right here, I would make it 55 by 55. And as I said, I did the radius again. I rounded the edge at the 4 corners over. And then on this first one, I bring it over and I make sure that it's perfectly centered. And then I click on the title bar and I use the arrow keys to bring it over. So I click on it. I went up here to home, to fill, gradient, 1, 2, 3, space these guys out like so. Black, 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 and this last one right here, I choose black, but then I bring the color up on each one of them just a tad, like that. Click OK, click apply, and I have no idea why it has red in there. Oh, there, that's why. Okay, and you can see that little light cast right in the middle. So all I did for the rest of these, I would have called this player 1, rectangle 1, or not player 1. I called this player 1, set 1, and I can't name it again because it won't let me name something the same thing twice. So then I would right click and copy and right click and paste, and you can see where it went up one number. So I would click on the title bar, then use these arrow keys, and then right when we have one white square between them, and this is what I'm talking about right here, this one white square between them, I leave it. So I click on the next one, and then this one would say player 1, set 2. So I right click and copy, right click and paste. Hit the title bar again, use the arrow key when we have one white block between the two of them. I say that's good. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Click on the title bar, move it over. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Click on the title bar one more time. And then we're going to slide that in place. Now for player 2, what I did is I right clicked and copied and right clicked and pasted. And then I had to go up here and change the name. So this will be player 1, set 1. So now I'm going to use the down arrow key to position it. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Click on the title bar, use the arrow key, get us one white square between the two black squares. And then this would be player 2, set 2. Copy, paste, click on the title bar. That would be player 2, set 3. Right click, copy, right click, paste. Player 2, set 4. And player 2, set 5. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make this divider right here. I go up to this rectangle, click me out a little rectangle, and you can change the size of it under format. The width of it's 10. Let's make it a little thinner. Let's make the width of it 6. And click on it. Click on the title bar, move it down just a smidge. And then we'll go ahead and we'll change the color to black. And then that's how I put that divider in there. So to get the points, right clicked and copied, right click and paste. And then I changed this to player 1 points, the title of it. I changed it to player 1 points. And then right click, copy, right click, paste. Click on the title bar, the down arrow this time. And I call this player 2 points. Now to put the numbers in here, these are just, again, these are just text fields. And I didn't leave myself enough space there. Maybe I can. There we go. Move that up. And so what I did here is I clicked on ABC, came over, made a real small spot here, center it in the middle, center it in the middle left and right, in the middle up and down, click shrink, change the color to white, and change the style of the font to extra bold. Then I clicked in here and I just put in the number 1. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Hopefully it'll work. There we go. Number 1. I just called this set 1 text. So right click, copy, right click, paste, click on it, move it over. Double clicked inside it, change the number to 2. Right click, copy, right click, paste. And when I'm making these graphics, when I get something to the dimensions that I want, it's just so much easier to do this copy and paste instead of trying to create something over and over that you want to be the same dimensions. So I use this copy and paste a lot while I'm doing my graphic creation. So same thing, copy and paste, click the menu bar, move it over, go inside, double click inside, change it to 4, right click, double click. This is set 5. Now I'm going to double click one more time, copy and paste. I'm going to bring this over, but this time I'm going to change the dimensions of this one because I want to type in points as it's reflected up here on the other graphic. So let's stretch it out a little bit this way, stretch it out a little bit this way, and then double click inside and type in points. And that's how we did the heading for all the sets and the heading for the points. Now, I also did the exact same thing for time of day and match time. I clicked on this. Oh, and I would have titled this one points text. So I right click and copy, right click and paste. Then I drag this one over here and I double click inside and I type time of day. Since I'd already clicked the shrink button, it made that text smaller to stay inside the text box that we created. So I would call this one time of day text. And so right click, copy, right click and paste. We're going to bring this one all the way over to the other side. And we're going to leave it about right there. For these two clock backgrounds, as you can imagine, I came up here, I hit copy, paste, and I brought it down over here and I widened it a little bit. And just to keep things symmetrical, I copied this and pasted, and then I use the arrow key again, and I bring this all the way over to the other side under time of day. And then for the clocks that go inside both of those backgrounds, I clicked on ABC. And I wanted them to stand out, so I used the same font that we've been using. Extra bold. And then under fill color, I used a reddish orange color. Make sure you center it in the middle up and down and in the middle left to right. And click on shrink. And then I'm going to double click in there and I'm just going to put 10 o'clock just as a placeholder. And then I would entitle this. Let's look over here, see what I did entitle this. Okay, I titled this one Clock Time. So time of day text is this header up here, and then clock time is this right here. So match time background is this right here. Match time clock is this clock we're getting ready to put in. And then just so it looks different, so it'll stand out from the other clock, let's just put in a different time. So this match has been going on 3 hours. Now let's go to one more thing we have to do. We have to make 2 more text boxes. One here. Let's go up to our font, change our font, make it extra bold, center it in the middle left to right, in the middle up and down. Make sure we have shrink on it. We're going to change it to that same color that we just used. And then we're going to double click on it and we're going to type AD. And that's how we're going to do the advantage for each one of the players. So this would be advantage player 1, which is this one. And this is advantage player 2, which is this one. So this would be advantage player 1. So we're going to right click and copy, right click and paste. Click on the title bar, use the down arrow. And this one would be entitled Advantage Player 2. Now, on these 4 pieces, these 2 tennis balls and these 2 add texts we put in there, we're going to control those in vMix UTC, and we want to have the ability to turn those off and on. In order to do that, we have to click on, this is image 2, go up here under Data, and then we have to click on Show Visible Toggle. That was for this second tennis ball. Same thing for the tennis ball for service 1, Show Visible Toggle. Then let's go over here for Advantage for player 1, click on Show Visible Toggle, and then click on this for Advantage Player 2 and click on Show Visible Toggle. So we have Show Visible Toggle now on for Advantage Player 1 and Advantage Player 2. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the One Man Stream logo. So I'm going to go Downloads, One Man Stream, Open, and I'm going to shrink this baby way down so that it will fit in our graphic. And we're going to position it kind of right there. Now, the only other thing that I haven't shown you is how to put these numbers in here. These numbers are text boxes. So we click on the ABC, come over here, create a box, go under Home, select our font, select extra bold, go over here under Fill Color, select yellow. Make sure we have it centered in the middle, left to right, in the middle, up and down, and make sure we have this shrink selected. Double click, and we can just call this, we'll just make this one 3. So that's how we get the numbers in here. So you can imagine for all the rest of them, all we did was copy and paste. Each time we make a new one, we have to change the name. This one right here would be Player 1 Set 1 Score. This one here is Player 1 Set 2 Score, Player 1 Set 3 Score, Player 1 Set 4 Score, Player 1 Set 5 Score. And all I did was copy, right-click copy, and right-click and paste, click on the menu bar and use the arrow, and that is all I did for the rest of these. For this one here, I right-clicked and copied and right-click and paste. Use the down arrow key. I changed this to Player 2 Set 1, Player 2 Set 2, Player 2 Set 3, Player 2 Set 4, and Player 2 Set 5. So this is Player 2 Set 1. I right-click and copy, right-click and paste, hit the menu bar, bring it over, and then I entitle this one Player 2 Set 2. Copy and paste again. This next one would be Player 2 Set 3. Copy and paste again, Player 2 Set 4. Copy and paste again, Player 2 Set 5. For these last ones here, I just called these points. So I would copy and paste. I bring it over here. I change the name to Player 1 Points. And then I copy and paste, use the arrow key, bring it down here, and I change it to Player 2 Points. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the vMix UTC interface, and I'm just going to show you how the graphic is controlled today. I'm not going to show you all the what's the commands that are behind all the buttons. I'll show you how to do that in a follow-up video, which will be later on this week. I'm going to go up here under where it says Player 1, and I'm going to type in Jimmy Connors, and you can see how that name changes to Jimmy Connors. I'm going to type in on Player 2 Arthur Ashe. Now I'm going to reset the time here. I'm going to stop it, and then I'm going to use this button right here to start match, and you can see it starts back over and it starts to count up. This right here is the current time, and let's go ahead and clear Advantage. Okay, so our current game is right here where it says points. Connors is, as you can see right here, is serving. I have some buttons here that say player 1 service, player 2 service. So Connors is serving, the orange tennis ball is going to be next to his name. So Connors serves an ace, serves another ace. Arthur Ashe comes back, scores a point. Connors scores another point. Connor is ahead in this one 15-40. So then Connor ends up winning this first set. So we're going to go over here to where it says set 1, and we're going to put a 1 in here. And then, I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to go back where there's a button that will clear the points for us. So I just manually went and I cleared the points. So right now, Connor's leading the set 1-0. So it's 1-0. So now Ashe is serving, so we got to change player service. So let's go ahead and click right here, player service, so you can see where the tennis ball comes on next to Arthur Ashe. Arthur has a wonderful service, wins the first point, wins the second point, wins the third point. Connors comes back. So now we're tied up at 40-40. I'm not a tennis aficionado, but I believe that's deuce. So then Arthur serves, wins, he gets the advantage. So now it's advantage Ashe, and Arthur serves again and wins the point, or ends up winning the game. So now it's tied up 1 set apiece, and we're ready to go with the third game in the first set. And that's how you score it. It's very simple. I may modify the score. No, I'm not. I have a little bit, no, I'm not gonna say that either. So now, okay. That will end part 1 of our tennis tutorial, where we created this tennis graphic that you see right here. It's actually very simple and very straightforward. If you follow the steps that I've outlined, you'll have no problem constructing this graphic as you see it. If you have a moment, please stop by our website, onemanstream.com. I have all of our past tutorials there, and I also have a store that I've recently created, and it has many of the graphics that we've created in the past, along with a few of the vMix UTC controllers that we have created. The graphics and the controllers are just a few dollars a piece. The object behind these tutorials are actually to have you create these tutorials on your own. But if you just want to go ahead and purchase one of these to use because you don't have the time to sit down and do it, or you want to look at it and kind of reverse engineer it and see how it is that I've done it, that also works as well. As I mentioned earlier, our next tutorial will be part 2, and we'll dive into this vMix UTC layout, and I'll show you every one of these buttons and the commands for every one of these buttons, or you'll be able to create the graphic and control it just the way that I did in the demo a few minutes ago. If you like what we're doing here, please give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you do subscribe so that you'll be alerted as soon as new videos are posted. Make sure you stop by One Man Stream. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. And as always, thank you so much.